Welcome to Strategic Beliefs and Core Stories. This is the show where you've learned to get over yourself so you can get what you want. And this is episode 1. This is where you come to find out what is the show about, what are my intentions, what are my purposes, why is it here, why should you pay attention, and what are you going to get out of that. To tell you that, let me share with you a story, okay? We're in my boss's office, and I have just been told that I have been investigated for sexual harassment. Yeah, you're surprised? I'm shocked. How could I possibly be being investigated for sexual harassment? Now, before your mind starts conjuring up all sorts of images about who I was and what I had supposedly done, let me just tell you that there is a clause, a part of sexual harassment that talks about creating a hostile work environment. And I was somebody who was creating a hostile work environment. Now I gotta tell you, it's taken me a long time to share that part of the story publicly because it's shameful, to even be considered somebody who was so hostile that he would create negative feelings for everyone else. Well, okay, so we're in the office, you and I, you're sitting right next to me, listening to my boss's boss tell me about how he had talked to all these different employees and asked them my history, asked about stories about me. And I started to listen to all of these stories coming from my friends, coming from different people who all said the same thing. Scott is angry and he's frustrated and he's a bit out of control. Now, the interesting thing with all of this is because I was a jerk, basically, to everybody, it wasn't sexual harassment because it wasn't, geared to just one gender. I was a jerk to everybody, and I'm here in his office finding out just how horrible of a human being I am. I'm completely shocked. Here I am, this award-winning commercial director. I've won tons of awards for them. Okay, yes, I am passionate about what I do, but that's what you get when you're a creative person, right? That's just part of who I am. That's what life is like for me. Prima donna, it's just the baggage you get with the creative world. Well, let me tell you, that was a lie that I had told myself, and I had sucked myself into believing this story about who I was and my core story, who I was and what I was about. Now, I gotta tell you, that was a big wake-up time for me because not only was I hearing from all of these people about what they thought about me, I was reevaluating my life because that wasn't who I intended to be. That wasn't me. And yet, why am I flying off the handle? Why am I so angry? Why am I so frustrated? And you know what? I knew the reason. I knew the reason exactly, and it was because I had a horrible job and I needed a different job, and okay, this is going to be the thing that gets me to my next job. Well, I got to tell you, if you are in the same place that I was at, if you are finding out that your life is not turning out quite the way you wanted, maybe you were looking at yourself and you're realizing that maybe you're unsatisfied, maybe you're unhappy, maybe you're frustrated, maybe you complain a lot, maybe life isn't quite giving you what you expected. I have a good friend of mine, I talked to him a couple of years ago about this subject. He was a CEO of a company and he was making a lot of money and he was miserable. And he said, "Scott, why is the money not meaning what I thought it would mean?" He talked about how he felt disenfranchised from corporate America, how he felt like he was set up. This isn't what I had signed up for. And he was angry and he was frustrated and he was in a similar boat that I had been, in years past. Well, I shared this with you because this is where I was. I was angry, I was frustrated, my life was falling apart, and fortunately for me, I was saved. I was pulled back from the edge, and I know I'm not telling the story with the justice that it deserves. You will hear this story as you continue on through the series. but I learned a few things about myself that changed things. And basically what I learned was I learned that the core story that I had told myself about who I was, why I was here, what my identity basically, my identity was off, and I was allowing other people, other circumstances to create that for me. And it was not the identity I wanted. It was not the identity that suited me. And it was destroying me. And not only that, it was destroying my family. I realized when I had that big wake-up call and I went home, and I recognized that my family for a while had been walking around on eggshells. The kids were kind of afraid of what dad's going to be like, or what's going to set him off. My wife is keeping her distance. And you know, the saddest part about that part was that my wife felt like she was the source of all my trouble. She was the source of all my discontent and my anger and my frustrations. And I knew it wasn't her, and I knew I wasn't depressed. I was discouraged. I was disillusioned. I was disheartened. There was something that I wanted that was just out of my reach, and I couldn't quite get it. Well, I have come to discover that it is the beliefs that we have about ourselves, about our environment, about the world and the universe that we live in. It is the core stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and why we're stuck in these repeated fail cycles and fail patterns. These are the things that need to change. These are the things that need to switch in our lives. Let me share with you one more story. So before this happened, I was asked to take a film crew to Cambodia, well, to Mongolia. Okay, on this trip we went to Mongolia, and I was there to follow this American doctor who was doing this absolutely incredible thing, and he was restoring sight to the blind. Can you imagine that? I mean, that is a miracle of biblical proportions, and we get to film it. So come with me. You get to be on the film crew. It's going to take 5 different flights to get there. And on one of the flights, we sit in an empty terminal waiting for our next flight. We're sitting in the chairs there, and we're talking about what are we going to see with this? And, you know, and can you imagine what's going on? You know, the details are kind of sketchy as to what he's doing. You know, my impression is that he's probably got this cutting edge procedure that is so cutting edge, it's going to take years to get past the FDA. But if he goes to Mongolia, he can help people while he develops this procedure, and the people won't sue him if something goes wrong. Well, we start talking about what are we going to see here? One person points out, oh, what if we see this old farmer and after the surgery, he's able to see his grandchild who he has never seen before. We just kind of get chills as we think about this. Somebody else points out, what if there's a mother and a daughter and they wear just their finest dresses and they come to the hospital as they unwrap the gauze around the oldest daughter and she sees them for the first time. Can you imagine that? We're so excited about what we get to see. Well, we land in Ulaanbaatar, take a rickety old bus on up to Darhan, and outside the building there's this fence that goes around the whole thing, and people are just pressed together. There's not even room to breathe between them. They are so excited to get there. Can you imagine if you knew that somebody was coming that could save you from your blindness, that could fix your vision, that could help you? How early would you get up in the morning? How far would you travel to get there, to be there at that time for him to perform this miracle for you? Yeah, think about that. Well, we don't get to meet the doctor at that time. He's in surgery. The people there are just waiting for an eye exam. If they pass that, they're in. So the next day, we prepare for the filming in the operating room. And as we're doing this, we realize that this may not be as cutting edge as we thought. The window is broken, and on the floor, there's a whole bunch of bird poop from birds that have been able to fly in, and it's right next to this vodka bottle that was used for anesthesia on a previous operation. Okay, well, now the doctor comes in, we're filming it, and he's taking the patient by the hand, and it's this tender scene, and it's beautiful, and he helps her lay down on the table, and we're moving in closer for a close-up shot, and he starts working on her eye, and as he does this, I'm just right next to him, and I start to talk to him, and I say, "Doctor, what are you adding into her eye?" And he stands up, and looks at me, and he says, "Nothing. I'm removing her cataracts." Now, you know what cataracts are, right? Cataracts are these, it's this painless clouding over the eyes that just happens over time. It's like your headlights. You know how they get that film over time and you have to rub them to get them clean? Well, in developing countries like America, we get cataracts removed kind of like we get our teeth cleaned. It's a pretty simple procedure, but in Mongolia, they didn't know about vision care. They didn't have these technologies, and they didn't know they didn't have to be blind. And so for them, life got darker and cloudier to where they couldn't see things that were right in front of them, obvious things, because life was just so dark and so cloudy. But they thought that's just how life is for them. They thought that's just their lot in life. Well, I got to tell you, you and I have mental cataracts. When I was sitting in that office and I found out about how I was reacting and creating this negative environment for other people, I started to learn about the cataracts, but I didn't know about them until later. Well, I gotta tell you, this whole show is gonna be devoted to helping you figure out where you've got mental cataracts, how you can change your core beliefs into strategic beliefs, and how you can change your core stories about your identity, about who you are, in ways that are gonna be constructive for you. My why on this whole show is to help people not self-destruct like I did. I was on the brink. I was on the edge. I just about lost my family. I just about lost my job. I just about lost everything that was so important to me. And it happened, or nearly happened, because of these mental cataracts. And I got to tell you too, leaving that office, I was sure the thing that I needed, I knew exactly what I needed. I needed a new job. But if I had gone to that new job with the same cataracts, with the same core stories, the same beliefs about myself, the same emotions built up inside, the same frustrations and anger about not living my purpose, not knowing who I am, not knowing why I'm here or what my contribution is going to be, would have been all the same. So you got to change your beliefs. You got to change your identity. And with strategic beliefs and core stories, you can do that. You can get out of your way and you can get what you want. So that is my why. I want to help families. I want to help people. I want to help companies who want to help their employees not self-destruct. I want you to live as the best, fullest version of yourself. And I'm going to share with you the things that I have found in the last few years. And we're going to interview some amazing people who have discovered some great things that are going to teach us, I'm learning at the same time, some things that we can use in our lives to live intentionally, deliberately, and get the kind of life that we want to live. Strategic beliefs and core stories. I hope you subscribe. I hope you find out what you're about. I hope you're able to remove your mental cataracts, and I hope you're able to thrive and truly find success in all aspects of your life. What are your thoughts? You've had time to think. Now it's time for you to share. In the comments section below, share your thoughts, ideas, and questions, especially any insights that inspired you to take action. Of course, the best place to take action is at scottwilhite.com, because if you join me for a free web class, I will reward you with a purpose planner so you can start each day with confidence, clarity, and conviction. Your identity is your most valuable possession. It's who you are, why you're here, and what you stand for. Choose your beliefs and pick your identity. It is choice, not chance, that determines your reality. See you next time.